I think that there's a stigma with service members who go into these situations and come home. We come home and everyone, the preconceived notion of society as well. Watch out, these guys are broken. They're broken. And when you talk about post-traumatic stress, the way I like to look at it is it's really post-traumatic growth. Through these maybe terrible situations that I went through, maybe through these bad experiences that I had, through processing and recovery, I'm actually growing from it. But when people are stuck in that mindset of, the depression, the anxiety, the suicidal ideations, all that stuff, it's hard to get to that mindset. So I think the more that we talk about it, the more we speak on it, and the more it's talked about in the military in general, it can help more people.
You think, how is there a way that you could describe what it feels like for somebody who's never been through an episode like that, where you're that hyper awareness?
I'm a visual guy, so think about this. Think about maybe you go to the county fair and you're on the teacups, right? And you get on the teacups, they lock you in, and you're spinning and spinning. Maybe it's going upside down and it's spinning, and you want to, okay, I've had enough, I'm ready to get off. Well, that coming home, maybe from deployment, that hypervigilance is kind of the same thing. You're constantly, you're going, you want to get off, but you can't. There's been numerous times where, shut this off, I want to shut it off. I'm tired of not sleeping because I'm, looking out and making sure the doors are locked, or walking around the house at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning until the sun comes up. I'm tired of not being able to go out to dinner with my family because maybe there's not a booth in the back open to where I can see every egress point coming in and out of the restaurant. I can't see everything that's going on behind me, But like I said, it's through, it's funny. I went out to breakfast with my fiance and my kid the other day, and we sat down, and she said, "Do you want to sit over here?" And I said, "No, I'll sit, with my back facing the door." And when she first met me, we'd go out to eat. I'm constantly looking around. She said, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just looking around." So the other day when we went out to breakfast, and I sat with my back towards the door, everything's a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. Everything's a stepping stone. I don't think it matters how long, once you start kind of taking control of that and taking control of the things that I've been through, once we get out of that everything happened to me mindset, then I'm living life on my terms, the way I want to live life, and that's had a major effect on my life in general.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we were talking about your back to the door. I was thinking about how through like an evolutionary lens, just this hyper awareness of what's going on around you, how that could serve us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hunter-gatherer kind of times, but then go into like a city. I mean, this is why a lot of vets like living out away from everyone, right? It's just like, if you're gonna be on the teacups, at least don't do it while you got like 500 people around you and a million different potential targets, or not targets, but threats, right?
And I think another thing that bothers, soldiers a lot coming home is maybe thinking that they don't get me, they don't understand me. Civilians might not necessarily and which they'll never understand situations that guys have went through. But I don't want to have the label as broken or damaged.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's interesting because this is the first time I've spoken a little bit about this with George, who works here, but the difference between everything you've discussed so far has been like this neurophysiological response.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there's the other side of it, which is psychology and, maybe racing thoughts, which I guess those two things sort of go hand in hand, right? But there's also like the pain that a person feels around something that they've done, regret, something they've seen, questioning could have been different, and that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
So in those scenarios, in that kind of scenario, how does a person, what kind of advice or advisement could you give to that dealing with just making peace with the things that they've either seen, done, been through, things that have happened to them or others around them? How do you?
Yeah. So when you talk about that, one thing that comes up is survivor's guilt. I for many years I struggled with survivor's guilt. The always constantly wondering, why me? Why did my friends give their life, when I was willing to give mine? That's really, and a little off topic, but it goes to just the brotherhood aspect, and when you're over there knowing that the guy to the left and right of you is willing to give their life for you, and knowing that you would do the same in return, and then coming home and there's such a big disconnect. There's such a big disconnect with people. Just in, everyone's glued to a device, so that's hard. That's hard to go from, being in that brotherhood, that tight-knit community, where people are willing to give their life for you, to coming home to people who are so disconnected that, maybe we feel like they have no idea what's even going on. But, back to your question about survivor's guilt.
Just on that though,
Yeah.
I think, and you and I have talked about this when we taught class, right? Something I think is important for all civilians or people who haven't been to war to really wrap their head around is that the experience that you've had and other soldiers like you have had is something that for most of human history, that's what people have done.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not a disadvantage, that's an advantage. You've experienced life in a way that is more whole, I think. And it's a way for people like myself to relate to somebody and just say, man, what was that like?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like to feel that kind of bond.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what that's like. You've done a really good job at bringing that same level of care and, at least trying to. I don't think you can unless we're all fighting for each other's lives. I mean, in a way, our work is that way.
Yeah.
So do you think that on the survivor's guilt, and I know you wanted to keep talking, so I don't want to be blabbing my mouth here, but do you think that that's driven you to do the work that you do, to make your life, to make it count? Is there any part of it that ties into that?
Don't think I've ever looked at it like that, but thinking about it, I'm sure that there's deep down inside of me, that's a lot of what is driven me to do what I'm doing today. For a long time, I talked about having that thought of, why me? Why me? Why did I come home? Why do I deserve, to make it out? And it's, we only see a snapshot of our life, so, I'm a big believer in everything really happens for a reason. So maybe the big picture aspect of me coming home was to be able to come home and do the work that I'm doing now. And I think that's the mindset that I bring to doing this, and that's why I'm so invested in it, because it is life or death on a different level of combat, but what we do is life or death every single day. So it's got to be treated as such.
Yeah, you've brought, I've shared this with you before, but the years that we've been doing this, we've seen a lot of different kind of guys come and work here. And the perfect scenario for a counselor is somebody that it brings a big old breath of wisdom, right? And that wisdom can come from lots of places. It can come from pain and struggle. It can come from just life experience in general. But somehow you've managed to take all of this experience you've had and harness it in such a way that people, the guys we treat, they feel it. You don't even have to, like I said, I've been working with you for a couple of years. I don't know the details of your time or more, but if people feel it around you.
I think I tell guys all the time, someone that can harness and control their emotions is a dangerous individual, and I'm not talking in the physical aspect, but the mental aspect. Someone who can control and harness those emotions and use it in a positive way is a dangerous individual, and that's something that radiates off people. I think people can see that and people can feel that. It's don't have to be a lot of words, it's through action.
When you say dangerous, it's power? Is that what you're talking about?
When I say dangerous, as far as whatever you set your mind to, you can accomplish.
Yeah.
Anything, someone that can really take their emotions, whether it's negative or their anger or the struggles that they've been through in life, and harness that and have that fuel them and drive them. And if used in a healthy way, that's what I mean by dangerous. Anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish. So using everything that I've been through, I think, instead of lashing out or maybe running to substances or any kind of unhealthy behavior, really learning to just like put it in a box. I think of putting it all in a box, and it's like a power. You put it in a box and you lock it up, and when it's time to use it, it's there. That pain and struggle's there. And I use it to fuel me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why you're doing the work you do. I know enough about you. But you being able to pioneer and teach other men that have been through things like you've been, how to go from pain that's just out of control, you're just trying to kill with putting stuff in your body, you're trying to manage it, you want to shut it off, to be able to take that and harness it in the way that you have, it's not just like dealing with it, it's like truly transforming it into something beautiful. And that's helping and changing everything around you. You could easily be the other side, which is just destroying everything around you, but instead everything that you touch grows.
I think really being able to harness some of the physical pain that, I wake up every day, with this. I tell guys, especially in guys that we treat with, whether it's mental health or substance abuse, you have to wake up every day with a savage-like mindset. I remember those bad times in my life. I remember all the pain that I went through, all the struggle. I remember sitting on the couch with a pistol in my mouth crying, wishing it would stop, take the pain away. you know, not just the physical, but the mental. You know, I remember those days, and I think I use that to drive me, because I wake up every day with this mindset that, you know, no matter what is thrown in front of me, I'm not going to let it hold me back from the man that I want to be, from being able to accomplish my goals, take care of my family, you know, however that looks. You know, whatever obstacles are in my way, then I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it.
Yeah, that's when you said pain and talking about the physical side. All of it, right? There's just pain. I mean, that's another side of this. How many surgeries have you had?
About 23. Yeah.
23, right? And so you got
Mm-hmm.
stuff going on with what do you got going on with your leg?
All kinds of stuff.
I know since I've met you,
Yeah.
you've broken off screws in there.
Yeah.
I think when we first met, you were talking about possibly having an amputated, right?
Mm.
And it was like a big deal, and to me, it was a big deal. Watching you do the marathon
Mm-hmm.
was an experience I'll never forget. You know, we did the triathlon recently. We were talking about things we were going to use to motivate ourselves.
Yeah.
And Ian and Richie both said that they were going to think about you.
Yeah.
I started laughing because I'm like, no shit, I'd do the same.
Yeah.
But you're actually, people are inspired about your relationship with pain. You don't run away from pain, you run into it, which is completely opposite to addiction.
Well, it's, you know, when I think about that, it's, you know, most people when they go through pain, there's two responses. I'm going to stop, or I'm going to keep going. You know, and I think a lot of that myself comes from, what am I telling myself? What kind of inner dialogue do I have? You know, is this something that, you know, and it goes back to like the fight, like you're hitting that limbic friction, you know, and are you willing to push past it? You know, the pain that I feel, that goes back to me harnessing everything. You know, I use it as motivation. I use it as motivation to keep going, because I feel like I can't stop. I can't stop. I owe it. Yeah. I not only owe it to myself to see where my boundaries and limits are, but, you know, if I can be an inspiration to other people, you know, and that's, to be honest, that's not my goal, but if it happens, then, you know, that's awesome. You know, but my main focus is, when I'm put in a situation, am I willing to get uncomfortable? You know, and I've became very comfortable with getting uncomfortable. You know, because the times in my life where I've grown the most is through this uncomfortability. You know, put myself in certain situations to where this is going to suck, but I know I'm going to grow through it. You know, and it's having that mindset of being able to be willing and you know, have the mental fortitude to push through tough times. You know, it goes back to like I said, the post-traumatic growth. Right. You know, you go through maybe these uncomfortable times in the beginning, but, you know, through all that, you're growing when you start to process and recover from all that.
Yeah, I haven't met anyone really like you. I put you in the same boat as like Goggins. You know, the people I think about when I'm like, go run 15 miles or 20 miles or whatever, then I think of Goggins running 100 miles, or I think of Cameron Haynes doing his thing, or these people. Mm-hmm. In my mind, you're in that same realm, in a different way. But all these people have this relationship with pain, and yours is a wide spectrum, because it's the pain of the psychological pain, all the stuff we were talking about earlier, you know, with PTSD and all that, plus the physical stuff. I mean, what you've done around your relationship to pain is extraordinary, and that in itself is like, back to addiction. It's one of the most common threads with, you know, anyone suffering, putting garbage in their bodies, right? Is about trying to run away from having to feel anything, right?
Yeah.
So there's this totally messed up relationship with pain, and you have managed to wrap your head around the psychological side, the physical side, the neurochemical side. I mean, you've got the full spectrum, which brings you, it's just incredible to be around you, and what you do for the guys based on that is great. I'm curious though, like, so when you get a guy who's complaining about shin splints or something like that, how do you not, I mean, you've got the other, so we're talking about your leg, you've got your eye too, right? How do you hear stuff like that and not just get so frustrated with the world, or listen to somebody complain about their latte not being right and thinking about a friend that you lost in war? Like, how do you make that translation from you to understanding the world without being angry, because you're a peaceful person?
It's because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about their relationship to it. You know, my relationship to certain situations is different than maybe a guy that's complaining about shin splints. So if you come to me and you have shin splints, well, which leg? My right leg. Well, good thing your left one is still good to go. You know, so I'm a big believer in the physical aspect. You know, there's always something we can do. There's always something we can do. You know, you got double amputees running multiple marathons a month. You know, you have guys that are, you know, I think we really, on a physical level, only scratch the surface of what we're capable of. You know, personally, I know I've only scratched the surface on what I'm capable of. It's, am I willing to continue to put myself in those situations? So, and guys that come in that have injuries, you know, it's as unfortunate as it is, it's actually a good learning tool, because there's going to be times in your life to where maybe you are completely down to where you can't do anything physical well. That's where the mental part of it comes into play. That's where that all the tools that we teach, you know, it's a good lesson to learn here in a healthy environment. You know, to maybe I have certain physical things going on. Well, this is a good time to utilize other tools that I've been taught to deal with life stressors. You know, there's always going to be, I talk about the pressure of life, you know, and the 4 pillars of resiliency. Like, if those 4 pillars are not strong, when the pressure of life hits, you know, one's going to break. So that's why I you know, I am hard on guys. I want to put guys in uncomfortable situations. You know, I think society as a whole, we coddle individuals. We coddle them, you know. But life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is hard.
Yeah.
You know, so personally, like, I want to continue to put guys in uncomfortable situations that they've never been in, you know, and guys have come back months, years after leaving here and thank me. Mm-hmm. You know, you're a big part of where I'm at today. You know, I don't miss you maybe yelling at me, but I see the growth in it now. Mm-hmm. So,
do you think men in general in society today are you know, craving that, want somebody to push them?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's, you know, when you talk about men's society now, and I won't get too much into the political part of it, but, you know, it's, we crave people to put us in uncomfortable situations. We, you know, every man at some point thinks, you know, what am I really capable of? Mm-hmm. You know, maybe a guy sitting in his corner office, you know, on the 12th floor with his tie on. You know, he makes good money, I'm sure, but at some point he thinks, what am I really physically capable of?
Yeah. Made me think of Fight Club.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that movie wrote on that idea, right? Like, the whole thing was just Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys watch that and thought to themselves, like, I'd love to be able to put myself in an uncomfortable situation to see what I'm capable of. Do you think, the number one period of time, the main period of time where drugs are consumed the highest is about 18 to 23, 24 years old? And we treat men we treat men and women. We've been treating men in Orange County quite a bit, but do you think that people that end up abusing substances, do you think that any of this has to do with guys? I don't know if this is true or not, just one thought I had. Do you think there's a desire to go out and find struggle, like that life was too easy, so it's like, I'm gonna go find my own war, I'm gonna go find some battle to fight against, so I can come back and win, kind of a thing?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. For sure. But in that age range, 18 to 24, you're really just starting to find who you are as a person. Depending on how you were brought up, what male role models you had in your life. A typical quote unquote man is taught to continue to push forward, continue to hold everything in, but in reality, a man is willing to get real with another man and to sit and talk about his feelings, his emotions, what's really going on. A man is willing to get vulnerable with another individual. It's not just going out here on a physical aspect and pushing yourself, but it's more of an emotional and mental aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. Strength comes from that. Yeah, I think that's a big misconception, is like there's this idea of a hero's journey, right? To go out and to try to test yourself. But when a person does that with drugs, they're like, one, the probability of death is through the roof. Probably worse than if they were to just join the damn military, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think that what you're saying, I mean, that's a three-dimensional man, right? Like somebody who's capable of, that's in touch with their feelings, isn't afraid to laugh at themselves, but also knows how to get down and work hard. And it doesn't matter what background you come from. Those qualities are just part of human beings being strong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men being able to own their mistakes, know when they were wrong. And, I look at everything as a learning experience. I don't really see failures in life. There's maybe certain marks we didn't hit, but to me, it's not a failure. It's a bit of a learning curve. If you really dig into maybe the mark I didn't hit, you always learn something from it. And that's life as a whole. We're constantly learning. We're constantly growing. We're constantly, as a whole, we're constantly seeking different things out, whether that's materialistic, relationships. So.
Speaking of that relationship, so you got a girl, a little girl now. How old is she?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
How's that going?
There's a learning curve there as well.
Yeah.
It's been good. She's just like me. She's a bit wide open. I'm standing on top of the couch. She's, 100 miles an hour. But it's that, I used to hear, guys talk about their kids and how you can really, never love something until you experience that yourself. And, I think that, the best part of my day is when I get to go home and, get her ready for bed and put her down in her crib and sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to her. And that's the best part of my day, and it melts my heart. Yeah. But there's also the late nights, the constant crying. But it's, just like anything, you go through it now to reap the rewards later.
Did you always know you wanted to have kids?
Yeah, yeah. I've always been good with kids. I've always loved kids. You know, I always wanted to be a father, and you know, there's certain times in my life where I wasn't prepared to be a father. You know, when I couldn't take care of myself. So, you know, when I did have a daughter, that was, you know, obviously the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And I think what it's done to me, you know, that's maybe my spiritual side pulling on me, trying to soften me up a bit, you know. And there's nothing like having a daughter. You know, she'll be shooting rifles, bows, and boxing all within the next few years.
Mm-hmm. So I was hitting pads with Ruby out in the front yard. She's 5, you know, and all my girls in a box. And my youngest one, I was saying, my age, she's got a big old cut under her.
Yeah.
She's beeline for a table and just. So it's like everywhere we go, we're like, oh, you know, because she looks like she got black eyes, so we're like explaining it. You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you're tough. Chin up, you know. Yeah.
It makes me think about her being born, you know, that day. There was something else I was wanting to talk about. You know, my greatest struggles were, you know, not being able to save someone else. You know, I think that's where a lot of the survivor's guilt came from. And a lot of, you know, thinking why for a long time I thought that I pushed myself so hard because I felt like I didn't do enough because I didn't give my life. You know, and having to really step back and look at that, I had to make sure I wasn't using that in an unhealthy way. You know, so I think that's a part of why I still have the drive that I do. You know, I tell you what, for a long time, so one thing that really, you know, we talked about the like the physiological thing, but you touched on the psychological thing. So there was an event to where we're on deployment in Fallujah, and we were on gate guard at this government center, you know, where guys were coming in, and you know, for like the Iraqi police and the Iraqi army, and there was this Fallujah sniper that we called him, and so I had a buddy that, you know, got shot in the throat, and when he got shot, we ran over there, and my other buddy got shot in the head. You know, one of them survived, and the other one he passed away. You know, but that event, the thing about, you know, this Fallujah sniper is he recorded everything. He recorded everything and would use it for, you know, his propaganda or whatever. But, you know, we got that video, and, you know, after deployment, I would sit and watch this video over and over and over, you know, thousands of times, and just...
The video was him shooting the guy.
Yeah, yeah. And for a long time, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, I wasn't that far away. Why was that not me? Why was that not me? You know, watching that video over and over and over, it was, you know, literally just, you know, burned into my thinking, you know, and that that stuck with me, I think, for a long time. And, you know, I had to look at that situation and, you know, for a long time, understand that I did the best I could do with the hand I was dealt at that time. I did the best I could do with the hand I was dealt at that time. And, you know, like I talked about a little bit ago, that, you know, I'm here for a reason. You know, when all this was going on, you know, I would watch that video and I would sit there, you know, drinking, and I'd have a pistol in my mouth ready to end it, you know, because I thought that I didn't deserve to be here. You know, and for a long time, that was my thought behind that. So having to rearrange, you know, my belief system around that actual event, you know, and understand that I'd done the best that I could do with the hand I was dealt at that time, and understand that I am here for a reason, you know, and it's to be able to help people doing what I'm doing today. You know, I have a life worth living today, and you know, I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be at peace. You know, not only in my head, but in my heart as well. You know, and I'm worthy today. You know, I feel like I'm worthy. I'm worthy of, you know, not only giving love, but receiving love. It took me a long time to really understand that, you know, but today I can, you know, say that I'm worthy of giving love and receiving love.
Yes, you are. I mean, you've done so much. I think about the people that you've touched since you've been working with us, and the impact that you've had on saving lives, and it's pretty extraordinary. Something that I'm curious about, and I think it could be helpful for anyone who's watching this, is, you know, your story is extraordinary, and, you know, talking a lot about who you are today and how you relate to pain and all the things that you're able to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there, though, that if you rewind back to you with sitting on the couch watching that video with a pistol in your mouth, or pacing your property at night, right, looking for guys that aren't there. Mm-hmm. I guess it's a two-part question. What would you say to them in terms of how to go from where they are now, where you were, to a life at least somewhat more like yours, to where they're waking up and they're able to sit in a restaurant with their back to the door, they're able to talk to people, they're able to give back. How do you go from there to here? And in the second part of that question, I don't mean to make it compounded like this, but I'm going to, is for people who love them, like, what do we do for somebody like that? Like, what could someone have done for you back in that time to help you?
Yeah, so, you know, I'll start with that, and, you know, I'll just speak on a little bit of, you know, what I done, you know, what I know, what my family done that helped me. You know, my family they see me struggle for years. They see me struggle with post-traumatic stress, with substance abuse for years, and they continue to support me. You know, not enable me, but support me, and they made it clear that they love me. You know, when I would pace the house at night, I would call my stepdad. My stepdad and my mother lived right through the woods from me. And he would get in his truck and come down there and turn the lights on into the woods, and I would just lay there for hours. You know, and he just let me know that you know, he loved me, that he cared about me. You know, we really didn't grow up talking about our emotions and how we felt, but I just knew that, every time that something would happen, my family was there for me. And going from sitting there on the couch with a pistol in my mouth to where I'm at today, I'll say this: nothing worth a shit in life is given to you, and knowing that there are people that care about you and people that love you, even in your darkest days, even when you're in the worst time of your life, there are people that love you, even though you feel all alone sometimes. You have to reach out. You have to reach out and talk to someone. And that's someone that you feel comfortable talking to. It's a situation to where it's hard to look at whenever you're at the lowest point of your life, feeling depressed, feeling like there's nothing left to live for. You have blinders on in life. Mm-hmm. You have blinders on.
Sure.
So I think it takes just understanding that you are worthy of giving love. You're worthy of receiving love. No matter what we went through in life, you deserve to be at peace. You deserve to be happy. And that starts with reaching out and just talking to someone, a simple conversation. And from a family aspect, from the ones that care for people, love people, maybe family members that are dealing with post-traumatic stress, mental health issues, substance abuse. There's a difference between enabling and supporting a loved one. That emotional support is really what got me to where I am today. Without that emotional support, that is kind of what went through my head every time when I had a pistol in my mouth, is that there's people that care about me. Mm-hmm. There are people that love me. And I would be sitting there crying, ready to end my life, and that was what would go through my head. My family don't deserve this. My mother doesn't deserve to bury her son. And as much as they told me that they love me and support me, it was hard in situations to understand that, they're the family members, when someone's going through us, they're going through it too, in a different way. Family members are going through this in a different way. But I think that emotional support is what really helped me get out of that hole I was in. I wanted to change. I didn't know how to change. I was at my last effort. I had nothing left in the tank. I was tired. I was tired of being in pain mentally and physically. And it really started with just a simple conversation with someone. With me sitting there on the couch with a pistol in my mouth, and my mother calling me, saying she wants her son back, that she loves me. So to say that words have meaning is an understatement, because you never really know how your actions or your behaviors can not only affect but really save someone's life.
Yeah,
does that answer your question?
It does, man. I think that this is a common thread even outside of, you don't have to have a background in military to, an element of people getting well is it's like when you're in that headspace, you said the blinders, that's so true, right? It's like, you can't even imagine not being that way. It's like you move past the point, there's no more hope. It's just like, this is how it's gonna go, right? And then what happens is this outside person comes in and that's sort of what they are for you. It's hope, you know, they become that, and then, you know, you have all these like little kind of cords you can pull. One is like, okay, I'm not gonna kill myself today because I can't do that to my folks, right? Another one is like, shit, that person believes I could do it, you know, and you probably don't, you know, I mean, in that headspace, you don't necessarily believe it, but that's...
Yeah, but I think that's true. It's kind of like looking through a tunnel and seeing just a very small beacon of light.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in that headspace of this is how it's going to be, you know, having that little shimmer of light, you know, gives you hope. You know, it might not be a lot, but, you know, it's a stepping stone. So, like, just reaching out to anyone, checking in on them, you know, reaching out to people you haven't talked to in a long time. You know, you really never know what somebody is going through in life. You know, so just reaching out and speaking to someone, asking them how they're doing. A simple conversation, you know, like I said, you never know when that simple conversation can not only affect but save someone's life.
Yeah, that's true. There's a million stories of people like, I was gonna do this and then I got a phone call.
Yeah.
It was like, came from an angel or something, and it's just somebody saying, hey, I was just thinking about you, how you doing? You know, it's yeah, that subject of the turning point is interesting. You know, and your mom saying, I want my son back. I was talking to this lady back east, Sean Nocher, and she was telling me she's been coaching families to remind people who are in active addiction about who they were before active addiction. Like telling them stories. Like, remember when we went to the lake and you were a little boy and you were running around with your frosted hair or whatever, you know? Just to kind of try to remind them that there was a period that was good, because it's hard when you get lost in that. You know, if you were, I think we should probably wrap this up, but if the one other question I had, and it's in the same vein, but what if you're a soldier and you're a vet and you're going through and experiencing this sort of thing, what's the best thing to tell people around you about how to support you? You understand my question?
Yeah.
Like
you know, I think at times when people are maybe going through an episode or going through something, you know, give them some space. You know, personally, when I was going through certain situations, I just wanted some space. You know, let me, you know, come back to reality. But one thing you really don't want to do is just hover over someone and continue to tell them that, you know, maybe that they're broken. You know, that once we're told so much that there's something wrong with us, obviously we start to believe that. You know, so for you know, family members especially, you know, you can show support and love and let someone know that you're there while giving them space. You know, as a family member, you can really love and support someone going through this with just, you know, words of encouragement. You don't have to physically be wrapping someone up to show them that you love them. And that's hard for family members. You know, if I think about, you know, if something happened to my daughter, the first thing that I want to do is wrap her up and give her a hug. You know, for family members that are watching someone deal with post-traumatic stress, I can only imagine like the things that I put my mother through, you know, and I'll let her know, you know, when there's certain times where I need my space. You know, I need my space. It's good to know that I have that love and support, but, you know, at certain times I just need to be alone. You know?
Perfect. So that's exactly what I was trying to. So if I'm a vet, right, and I'm like, dude, if I have a moment, right, and my family's freaking out, they're all up on my shit, they're coming into my world trying to figure out what's going on, they're looking at me like there's something wrong with me. You're telling me the best thing to say to them is like, just give me my space, I'm okay, I just need a moment. That's what you would tell me to say to my family.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a person that has went through those episodes, and when the family is just hovering and continue to push, it's like throwing fuel on a fire.
Yeah.
You know, and you never know where that's going to lead. So there's always ways to support emotionally, you know, a loved one without physically having to interact with them.
I was thinking about that with you. You're talking about your stepdad with the lights.
Yeah.
Like the vision I had in my head is probably not how it went down, but I pictured him driving like a pickup up through and turning on headlights into the woods and sitting there. And then when you said the thing about them going through their own struggle, I imagine like a strong man tearing up, just thinking about his son going through this shitty experience and he wishing he could do something. And just that kind of hopeless thing the parents feel, like watching you go through that for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain situations that I never even told my parents about because I didn't want to maybe stress them out or worry them.
Sure.
You know, my mom, she's kind of a worrier, so there were certain situations that I didn't even tell them about or tell them maybe what had happened, you know, so. But yeah, it was just like that. You know, my stepdad drove a pickup and sat in the cul-de-sac with his lights on when I was, you know, laying out in the woods with a rifle at 2:30 in the morning, letting rounds off, you know. So, and that's one thing that he did was he gave me my space and let me know that I was okay.
You know, you were there, you shined the light on it, right?
Yeah.
It's like a metaphor almost, like almost like a dad coming in and turning the lights on, like there's nothing under the bed, right? For a kid, you know. I imagine he would go back to your mom, and it was probably heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like he's out there again, and
yeah, I can only imagine the turmoil, you know, emotional turmoil that my mom was in while I was deployed, you know, but then coming home and witnessing her son be completely broken at times and really, you know, just being in the mindset of not wanting to live. I can only imagine how heartbreaking that could have been to my mother, you know, but that continued love and support is really what got me to where I'm at today.
And there was love there.
Yeah.
like even if say dad goes home to mom and is like, you know, he's doing it again or whatever, like, what'd you do? I just turned the lights on like normal, so he knows everything's good, and mom's tearing up and mom and dad are hugging, and that's still love.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't pretty, but love is not always, it's not always
You don't have to always be wrapping someone up to love them.
No.
So.
All right, well, this was a good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to say to anybody? No?
I think that was pretty good.